Welcome to the Chelsea Fans Channel. It's time for our new look preview. This week we're going to be talking about last week, the travesty that was last week. This week's opposition, we obviously have a glamorous fixture away at Bournemouth. The lack of leadership. Sophia has an awful lot to say about that. And we are also going to be discussing the team selection. We have picked a very, very interesting team and we would love your comments and your thoughts on it. So make sure that you comment in the section below. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Last week, I don't really want to bring it up, but I think it's important that we go over the ghosts of last week in order to kind of focus and make sure that we don't make the same mistakes again.
Last week was, do you know what? I feel like I'm repeating myself all over again, exactly how I started our last video last week. Yes, very, very disappointing. Man City were good. They were obviously the better team, but we were just pretty woeful. There was just such a strong sign of just a lack of desire, lack of passion, and as you said, the lack of leadership.
Yeah, it's not acceptable, is it? Do you know what's a real shame, and I'm sure that a lot of Chelsea fans feel this way? You know, when you get to this stage of the season, there are those clubs that is seen as being a very easy fixture because they're not going to go down, they're not fighting for Europe. So, you know, your Swanseas, teams like that, your Stoke at this stage of the season. In that game against Manchester City, we became that, didn't we? We became that team that weren't fighting for anything, had no heart, no soul. And City, I would go as far as saying it was possibly our worst performance of the season. I think it really was that bad.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you can just tell that the players have just sort of given up. I guess as soon as we crashed out the Champions League, and obviously prior to that the FA Cup, we haven't won. We've won in like 5 games or something, and it's just sort of, you can tell they've given up. And prior to that, we hadn't lost in 16 games. Yeah. So you can just tell the attitude of where the players are at, and they've just sort of given up. And I just hope and pray they do not display that same attitude in the obviously the big fixture coming up past Bournemouth.
Yes, true, but they have to get the ball rolling here, don't they, with Bournemouth? We really have to turn
definitely.
It around. No disrespect to Manchester City here either. I thought they were marvellous, and I think that Sergio Aguero is, without doubt, the best striker in the league. I don't want to take anything away from them, but just talking about Chelsea, we really weren't up to it at all. Which brings us on to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Feeling good about this fixture?
I am feeling confident because I think if we're going to turn it around, Bournemouth away should be the fixture we can do it in. I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. I think we've only scored 20 goals in 16 away games, and Bournemouth have only scored 21 goals in 17 home games. Right. So don't expect, don't expect any exciting goal fest, to say the least.
Yeah, it's not. I'm really looking forward to going to this game. I've never been to Bournemouth's ground before. We only got a few tickets. I was lucky enough to get one. I'm really looking forward to it. Gutted it's not sunny, day on the beach and that. Mm-hmm. But it's so important that we win because, as you mentioned, we have such a big game against Tottenham coming up, and you have to start winning, don't you? If we play like we played against Manchester City, Tottenham are going to beat us.
So they're going to roll us over.
We have to turn that over this week against Bournemouth. Anyone from Bournemouth that troubles you at all? Anyone you're worried about?
I think you need to probably look at their star man's Joshua King. Yeah. I think he's flying for them at the moment. Yeah. And I think our defence are not doing so well at the moment. No,
they looked. I didn't think they looked too bad against Liverpool. I think Liverpool had the first half, but Bournemouth really did rally and they did fight for their side, which was nice to see. It must have been great for their fans. So we are going to be in for a game here, aren't we? Mm-hmm. So we will have to see how it goes. I suppose that leads nicely on to the lack of leadership that's been on display. This is your topic. Sophia's been insistent that we have this conversation. Sophia, over to you.
I just think it's a really key. I'm going to have this rant now, but I just think for me, what was really sad to see against City was the complete lack of leadership shown on the pitch. And I know obviously that clearly points to the lack of our captain John Terry, but not only are we missing him hugely defensively, but I think on that pitch, you just didn't see anybody organising the players. Even just little things, like if there was an attempt of a penalty appeal or anything like that, John Terry's your first players over, is wrongly or rightly, in the referee's ear, rallying the players round, influencing what was happening on the pitch. And I don't think any player on that pitch, the experienced ones, obviously you can't say youth will show leadership, but the experienced players on that pitch, Ivanovic, Fabregas, players like that, I didn't see organisation shown or leadership shown on that pitch. And that is very worrying, because who would you, from the players that were on that pitch, and I'm going to ask you this question, who would you like to see, if John Terry, which obviously is not going to be our captain next season, the players that were playing against City, who would you feel comfortable and showed leadership qualities to be captain next season?
It's a very tricky question.
Sorry,
in fact, comment below. Let us know who you think should be captain next year. If I am on the spot like that, I think if Branislav Ivanovic is in the starting lineup next year, it'd be interesting to see. You know, I'm not convinced he will be, but if he is, I think he's done enough and shown enough spirit over his Chelsea career to be a potential captain.
Okay,
I also think Fabregas is in with a shout here.
Okay, fair enough. But let's talk about Ivanovic and Fabregas. Do you see, if you need to go in at half time? Right, I'm not talking about necessarily how they play on the pitch, but as personality-wise, they go in at half-time. Who are you seeing? Can you see Ivanovic giving that Drogba speech or that John Terry speech, that kind of passionate? For starters, English isn't his first language. I do think that makes a difference. Yeah. Personally,
I think that there's different forms of captaincy here. I think you're right. Of course, you know there is one form which is all, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, and you go in and you rally the troops and you scream at people and you make sure that they understand the hugeness and the scale of what they're up to. But equally, I think there are other ways. You know, I think a player like Dennis Bergkamp wasn't a shouter, but I think that he certainly led a team, you know, because he did it through example. So there's the Roy Keane model, the John Terry model, but there's also other models. And I think that a player like Fabregas, a player like Ivanovic have the minerals to lead the team.
Does Dave? Because he showed a little bit more passion than the other players.
I actually don't see Azpilicueta as a potential captain. Not that he isn't a potential captain, but not higher than the two that we mentioned.
Okay, last point. Fabregas on Monday Night Football. We were both surprised the way he came across.
Yeah, very eloquent, very articulate, intelligent guy. It's good.
For me, I personally would think, out of a poor choice that we have, I think he could possibly nip it.
Yeah, I would certainly have Fabregas as captain. You know, you've got to remember he has experience in this league of being a captain. He was captain of Arsenal at a very young age,
which I know Chelsea fans may struggle slightly with.
Some will, of course. I don't have that issue. I like Fabregas. I think that he was unfairly judged. I think that he was unfairly judged around that Mourinho saga, and I think that he has covered himself in glory since the change. And he's spoken brilliantly about Mourinho. He's saluted him and for everything that he's done for him. I like Fabregas, and I loved him on Monday Night Football, and I agree with every single word he said about Tottenham Hotspur. I think it was excellent. Right, I suppose we should pick our team. Okay, right, we really have struggled with this. We've been going to and fro, and I think that we've picked a very good team. There's been some arguments, there's been some fisticuffs, but I think we've got it down. So let us know what you think of this team. First place to start, we've gone for Begovic in goal.
Yeah, I mean, we have no choice with Courtois having been sent off last game.
Yeah, it stands to reason. But also, I think that Begovic, I like him. I think that he's done very well for us when he's played, and I'm convinced that he's up to this challenge.
Agreed.
So Begovic in goal. We're going to go left back, and this is going to surprise some of you. I'm sure it is. We've gone for Cesar Azpilicueta left back. I think that the reasoning behind that will come out any second. So we'll come on to that in a moment. Joining Azpilicueta in the back line, it goes Ivanovic, Gary Cahill, and
Ola Aina.
Yes, we've gone for Aina, and the reason that we have played Azpilicueta on the left is because we think that if we're going to give Aina a go, he needs to be playing alongside as experienced and brilliant a back line as possible. And I think that our strongest back line involves Azpilicueta, Cahill, Ivanovic, and then Aina. You think he's up to it?
Yeah, I do. I think our youth team has done brilliantly. Obviously winning the youth cup final against PSG. And I think I'd really want to see some of these boys coming up the ranks and being rewarded for how well they're doing.
Absolutely. Retaining a Champions League is massive, isn't it?
Yeah, back-to-back titles. It's the first, isn't it the first team in history that's done it?
Yeah, I think that competition's only been around for 3 years, and we've won 2 out of 3. We've won it 2 out of 3 times. So yeah, we've won it more times than anyone else, clearly.
There we go, exactly.
Moving slightly further forward into the midfield, we've gone for Ruben Loftus-Cheek and John Obi Mikel. Again, I think that the logic for this, the reasoning, will come out in a moment. But I think that Ruben Loftus-Cheek played very well against Manchester City, slightly deeper.
Yeah.
I think Fabregas struggled to get into that game, but I think that Loftus-Cheek playing there is good. Alongside Mikel, it will give Loftus-Cheek the licence to go, won't it? So those two can complement each other very well.
Yeah, and I think we also need to be slightly honest as to why we're not playing Fabregas, in case some people are going mental at the fact that we have not chosen Fabregas.
Okay, I was trying to create some jeopardy here. I was thinking that people might
I've
think.
just killed
I was
it.
thinking that people might think that he was going to be slightly further forward, but no, he's not in the team. We've omitted him from our team. Sophia, would you like to explain why?
Because, sorry, I'm just going to kill that completely. You can tell this is never planned between us. No, basically, our huge fixture is Spurs next at home. And we are just starting to rest a few players because we need to win that at all costs. Yeah. And if it means resting Fabregas to get a win there, we'll take that all day long.
And Fabregas admitted on Monday Night Football that he will be desperate to win that fixture. So we're going to preserve him, we're going to get him fit, we're going to get him right up for it, and he's going to sit out the game at the Seaside. So we've gone for, again, a very youthful trio here. This is where the game should be won, and I think this is very exciting. On the right-hand side, we've gone for Kennedy. Joining him in the middle will be Willian. Mm-hmm. And playing on the left is Traore in his, what I perceive to be his rightful position. Yeah. So it's very young, dynamic wingers, which is going to be great, isn't it? Very direct. This should be good.
I think it's exciting. I think it's a really exciting sort of front three. So.
Yeah, and that's perfect. And they will be joined by none other than the goal machine himself, Diego Costa. Comment below, let us know what you think of this team, but I am convinced that this team will win the game. I think it's very exciting. I think it's got a lovely blend of youth and experience, and it preserves the right people to be available for the game against Tottenham on Monday week.
Also, the reason we haven't put more youth necessarily on the bench is obviously because they're playing the night before.
Yeah, I'm going up there actually. I'm going up. If anybody is going up to the Youth Cup final and first leg in Manchester, come and say hello. I will be there in the away end, presumably one of about 20 people. So if you're there, come and say hello, because I'm going on my own. So yeah, hope to see as many of you there as possible. Hope you enjoyed this preview. If you did, as I say, we're still working on a new format. So if you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up just so that we can monitor it. And let us know what you think of this team. I think we got it bang on, but always very interested to hear your thoughts. Go on, you Blues. Welcome to the Chelsea Fans Channel. I'm joined by Charlie, the Hurricane Skillen from the Mail Online, and it is time for my favourite part of the week. I'm going to give you the topics that we're going to talk about, and I think you'll agree this is a very, very exciting edition.